All right, ladies, I am so excited about this training because I truly, truly believe that your training is the probably biggest missing link for the physique you truly want and all of the shape that you want to build in your body. And as we go through this training, it is beefy. And I'm gonna start with that. So as you go through this, you may want to watch it a couple of times, but also I'm gonna say this up front. As you're watching, jot down any questions. We can keep this conversation flowing, even post this, or if we need to do like for next month, even like a part two, with added pieces, I'm super happy to do that. So anywho, we're gonna talk about taking your training to the next level. So we're gonna train with purpose, execute with intensity, and really build the body that you want. Because yes, it is possible, and I don't care where you are in life, um, young, old, menopause, like I don't, does it, nothing. The rules still apply. So, what I want us to jump into is this, I think, is always the biggest questions people are asking themselves. Is like, and even as a coach, I get this a lot too. It's like, am I training hard enough? Am I really training hard? What does failure even look like? I know it's a really great question because what something like any coach here at Queens of Iron, we know you have the right training program, right? You have the right amount of volume to grow your body. You have everything you need in front of you, the right map, the right direction. So this is the piece that it's going to take a little bit of you plus coach to really get into the weeds of, why isn't my body changing? It's most likely come down into one of two things, your nutrition or your training. And most likely, if you're not seeing your body shape out, it's most likely, I say most likely because I have a caveat here at the end. Um, but it's most likely your training and how you are pushing yourself in your training. So, we are going to dig into this from all of the pieces that I truly believe we probably need to consider. Now, what we're going to go over, like I said, a little beefy. We're going to discuss the importance of warming up before your lifts and not just the Queens of Iron warm ups, but warming up for your main set A, set B lifts. Okay. Really getting to know, what does failure look like? What should it look like, feel like? And also, like, what should I be doing to really get there? Finding confidence in using your weights. So, like, knowing that you have the right reps and weights for you. And some of this is going to be pieces where, like, your video evidence will be so helpful. We're going to talk about the mind a little bit because your mind is always want to give up before your body. And then just tools that we need to think of outside of just our training that will impact your training. So let's dive in. One of the biggest things is we want to warm up because it brings intention and so much purpose. Now, every Queens of Iron workout, right, you'll have a warm up, right? Now, these movements are there to prime, activate, get your body warm before we start the actual movements. And so it can help, yes, activate your glutes or get your shoulders primed and ready. But it's not necessarily priming them and ready to lift heavy weights. And that's something I think we hear a lot is like lift heavy, lift heavy. And lifting heavy is always going to be relative to you, the rep range, and just so many other pieces. So we don't just want to lift heavy to lift heavy. We want to do it very intentionally. So what we want to do is I love that you're priming your body, you're warming it up. But then what we don't want to do is immediately go from the warm up, that's just priming and getting kind of your body warm, to lifting heavy. And my brain goes to like, think of a heavy barbell hip thrust or a heavy barbell RDL. And heavy can be relative to you, right? Starting set one with that much weight is a lot from your body to go from like zero, no RDLing at all, to however much you're putting on the barbell. So for example, if I put 145 pounds on the barbell, I'm going from 0 to 145 pounds. My body has had no opportunity to really understand and grow and warm the body, warm those muscles, feel the weight to really be able to lift as heavy as possible. So we really, 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 really need to do warm-up sets for your first exercises. And we're going to run through this together so that you can really see this. So I'm going to pull an example here, an example of a leg day, right? Pretty basic. Yay, love leg day. But what I want you to see is usually you'll see even in, True Coach, it'll say like A, B, sometimes it'll say A1, A2, right? Those would be a superset. But here we're going to just talk about like A and B. Because these first two exercises out of the gate, you already have a warm up. I'm just acting like my mouth. It's up here in True Coach, right? You already have some warm ups that are just priming your muscles. But to go into a heavy barbell squat or a heavy cos glute bridge, that would mean that you're just starting with the weight on the barbell, which we both know, you and me both. I can lift a lot in a barbell squat. There's no way I'm just going to go cold into a barbell squat. So what we want to do is we want to have some nice warm-up sets before we actually start set one of this barbell squat. And same thing with the cos glute bridge. You're a little bit more warm for like B. So A and B are going to be your two big exercises that we want to warm up for. Now most after that, you'll see like we don't really need to warm up. Your body should be good to go and complete your workout. You shouldn't have to go warm up. But the first two exercises that you do, and it could be a superset might look a little different, but if you look here, I would want us to have 1 to 4 warm-up sets. And then even for your second, we don't need as much warming up. Our body is warm, but to really get this movement, feel the muscles, engage, make sure we're getting to a good weight because there's no way I would definitely, if I was going cold turkey into a barbell squat, I could not lift as heavy. My body's not warm, so I'm already gonna lose out on how much I can push because I'm leaving it on the table by not warming up. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go through examples of how you can warm up because your brain's probably like, if some of you might be warming up, which is beautiful, and some of you might be like, well, I'm just doing the warm up that my coach gave me, right? Which is beautiful. Like I said, not that it's like don't do those. It's like we just need to continue building so we can lift. Our first two lifts are going to be strong and gorgeous and beautiful. So here we go for an example. So this would be like for our barbell squat. So when I'm putting A here, set A, this would be for a barbell squat. So what we want to do is the whole idea is to get your body primed for this movement, activating the right muscles, and really prep your whole central nervous system to be able to take on the load you want. So for this, what I want you to think about is first warm-up set, you're going to just do a barbell or, for example, body weight. There's no, if you're home doing dumbbells or if you're at the gym with a barbell, or doesn't matter if you're at the gym with dumbbells, start with body weight or just the barbell. We want to act like this first warm-up set is just like we're lifting our heaviest set. So we're not just like plopping down, right? It's going to feel easy. It's not going to feel challenging. I want you to think though, we are pushing this as like nice control, full range of motion, really feeling the movement, setting up with like, getting under the bar, bracing your abs, getting everything tight, breathing the same way, and really getting that position nice and down because warming up is also everything that we're doing, your body is listening and it will repeat. So we want to act like this first warm-up set is like everything. And it's going to feel easy, right? It's not going to be super challenging. You're not going to be out of breath. You don't need rest. So we're going to do 10 reps, body weight or barbell. Now, no rest is needed. You go put weight on the barbell or on your dumbbell, go grab a dumbbell. And we don't have to wait. This isn't like, okay, now I need to wait 60 seconds or 90 minutes or whatever. It's like we can immediately just put the weight on, get back under, and continue warming up. So this warm up shouldn't take us oodles and oodles of time either. So what we want is about 50% of your working weight. We'll talk about how to figure that out later, but like just bear with me for now. Okay. And if you have questions, seriously, just keep jotting them down with me, and then we can keep doing it. So you want about your working weight is the weight you're going to use for set one. And we'll go to some examples here in a minute, but you'll do 50%. So you'll put 50% on the barbell or 50% with your dumbbell. And we're going to do 5 beautiful reps. We're going to focus on speed, control, connection, and there should be no fatigue here. That you shouldn't be fatigued. Again, you should be feeling good. It should be feeling a little bit more challenging. You should be like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling the weight. I'm feeling adding this because 50% is a lot more weight. We can handle it. And we're still giving our body time to warm up, our central nervous system time to warm up, and our body to warm up to that heavier weight. So after that, you do your 5 beautiful reps. We're going to go to 75 to 80% of your working weight, okay? So that's going to start feeling a lot more tension. The bar speed should still be moving, but you're going to notice it's like, okay, yeah, I've got weight on the bar now. This is feeling better. And I'm working to that heavier weight. We're going to do 3 reps. Cool. Same thing. We're going to switch out weight. And this last working set, we're going to do 1 rep, but we're going to do 90 to 100% of your working weight. And you should be pretty primed now. Like your body is warmed up. Your movement pattern should be warmed up. Like you should be feeling really good in your squats. And then we are ready to rock and roll, right? After this 1 rep, we do want to then have, if you use 90%, we want to put the whole 100% on the bar after this. And that's totally fine. You don't need to warm up to that 100. Now, for example, if you're having one of those days, we've all had them, me included, where you're feeling like I've put sometimes my normal 50 weight on the bar and I'm like, ooh, this is feeling heavy today. You've been there, right? And sometimes I need a couple more warm-up sets. It's not going to hurt you if you feel like you need a little bit more time warming up. I know for me, when it's cold outside, I live in Colorado, for the record, I notice I just need a little bit more warm-up time than right now during summer. I'm just naturally a little bit more warm, so it works really well for me to not have to do as much. But between this fourth working warm up set to your actual first real set, all right, I do want you to rest and give your body a good chance to recover. Now, you only did 1 rep. You're not doing your full working set. So you should be able to come back pretty quickly, but you shouldn't just put that barbell down and be like, okay, time to get under the bar and start my first working set. Give your body, give your breath a chance to come back down and really kind of feel it out like, okay, I feel good. I feel, excuse me, I feel ready to rock and roll. And then we start our first set. Cool. So this is how we would warm up for set A. That would be, for example, back to this one, our barbell squat. I'm sorry, I got a little tickle. Our barbell squat. And then the next thing we would do is go for our like cos glute bridge, right? So this would be like your B set. You're going to notice, look at the difference here. We're not having to do as many warm-up sets and we're getting to jump a lot faster. We don't have to start with the barbell. If you want to, if you're feeling like, man, I struggle with my cos glute bridges, it's not a bad idea if you need to add a couple more working sets. Or sorry, I keep saying working sets, but I meant like warm-up sets before the working set. Totally fine. Your glutes, because your glutes are going to be on during a barbell back squat or a goblet squat. So your glutes are still working and your quads are going to be working. Your hamstrings are isometrically working here. Your legs are doing a lot. So going into the cos glute bridge, your legs are warm. So we don't have to do as much. That's why. So that's what I said here is like you're warm from your first exercise, and then we're going to continue to warm and prime your body for this next exercise. Because again, most likely across glute bridge, you're going to be able to still lift pretty heavy. And we don't want to just go into it just like, let me just go lift. Because again, you might be leaving a lot of weight you could be lifting because we're not warming up. So the first warm up set, 50 to 70% of your working weight. I typically tend to do about 50%. I like to start and really feel the movement, really feel the connection, mind muscle connection, really focus on my form. Just like I said, like just like this is my working set, but almost like I'm really in the moment with way lighter weight, right? Because way lighter weight, it's easy to like toss and throw around, but I act like it's like the heaviest thing in the world and we're going. So we're not burning out, we're not gonna die. We're not training the house down yet. So we're gonna do like 3 to 5 reps. Typically, I'll be honest, for me, I do about 50%, 5 reps. And then I'll usually beef this up to 75, 80%, and I'll do 1 to 2 reps. And then usually I'll put 100% on, do 1 rep and rest. You don't have to. That is just how I've done it for a long time. And it doesn't take long because these warm up sets go a lot faster. And, our goal is really just to continue to prime your body and get your CNS ready to lift heavier and heavier and heavier. And so then after you do that, we can just get our working set in and start. And then after set A and B, right? You don't need to warm up for like C, D, E at all. You can if you want. Most likely, for I would say almost every woman here, you are not going to need to warm up for these movements. Your body should be primed, ready, and can handle the weight. So that is going to keep you feeling good throughout. And, as we continue on, your legs are going to be way more exhausted. And these are going to be most times, there's always different ways we can program things, but most times you're going to get more accessory work at the end. So, for example, a leg extension, a cable kickback, those are more like isolation accessory work. And so, very different than using a lot of muscles in a barbell squat, right? Versus I'm just using my quads, no other muscles helping. So, this is going to be such a beautiful way to lift heavier because I've seen where people have not warmed up. I've had many clients where they're like, I've just done the warm up and then went right into a working set. And, not warming up could injure you. But what it can also do is be that space where it's like, oh my gosh, I truly do need more time to build up to this weight so I can lift heavier. Um, but then we get into, after this, you're good. Like, this is just going to keep you from injury. It's going to be able to, you'll notice, like, wow, I can actually lift heavier and heavier and heavier. And that is going to help you build more muscle. And that's huge, right? It seems so simple, like a warm up could really change everything, but it can. So, what I want you to think about is anytime you A and B, right? And if you need to, talk to your coach. Or if we want to do more examples, bring it on. So, we're going to go over some now. All right. So, we're going to take that barbell squat because I feel like it's such a good, like, overarching movement, right? We squat. Cool. Um, so a working weight, right? That is the weight that I'm going to put on the barbell. And if my rep scheme is I'm supposed to be hitting like I'm going back here. Sorry, I keep flipping back, but we're going to just use this as our big example, right? 3 sets of 10. That is our goal. That is what we are after. So with that, with my squat, I'm going to do 170 pounds for 10 reps. Okay. Now, this is where we're going to give our body the opportunity because there's no way I could put 170 pounds on the bar cold. Like I just walked into the gym, I did my little warm up, and I just go to the bar and put 170 pounds on and go squat. Negative. Negative. I 100% would hurt myself. So what I would say here is this is what it would look like, right? We'll talk more about like how to find your working weight in a little bit. So I just want to say that because I don't want people to be like, but you didn't talk about this. We will. Um, So this goes back to the same thing. Warm up one, two, three, four. And first is going to be your barbell only, right? So no weight needed, no math needed. 10 reps, beautiful form. Barbell, really focusing on control, really thinking about like leg drive up, getting the abs tight, really thinking about just setting yourself up every single warm up set like you're in your working sets. Because how we practice and the repetition we give our body is what we'll do when we perform. So same thing here. Set two, we'll put 50% on the bar. So 50% here would be about 80 pounds. Cool. So we put 80 pounds. It doesn't have to be perfect. So don't freak out if you're like, I put 85 on the bar. Totally fine. If you put 75 on the bar, we're fine. I don't want you feeling like, oh no, oh no, because what we want is giving our body an opportunity to adjust and lift and grow because your body will adapt. And that's why we can jump to 50% is it can grow and adapt really quick. I don't need to start with like the barbells usually depending some gyms have like a Bella barbell, which is 35 pounds, and most have like a 45-pound barbell. So I'm not jumping that much weight. If you think about it, a 45-pound barbell to 80 pounds, not a huge jump, um, but still a nice jump. So I put 80 pounds on the bar, 5 reps, same thing, gorgeous, beautiful reps. I'm focusing on all of my mechanics, beautiful posture, abs tight, back tight, getting under the bar, really just controlling the movement. Cool. Then we're going to do 75 to 80% of this 175 pounds. So that'd be like 130 to 135 pounds. I usually will see how 80 pounds is feeling. And if it's feeling good, I'll just go for the 80%. If I need, like I said, a little bit more, or even if you're noticing that 80 pounds today is feeling way more challenging than it has in the past, this would be like, it's okay if you need to add like 60% or 70% and bring weight down to just gradually build up. Totally fine. Most times though, this is going to work really beautiful. So we'll put 130 to 135 pounds on the bar, 3 reps, and then we can do 90 to 100 pounds. I think this is like actually 90 to 95 pounds. So obviously we could put 170 on the bar and go. I personally like to have like 90, 95 on the bar. Again, just another like piece where I can warm my body up in the middle. And then I usually just go right into my working set unless things are feeling heavy. Cool. So then after I've warmed up with this one last rep, I do rest, right? I don't want to just immediately go into my first working set. Give my body an opportunity to fully be recovered, even though warming up for one set isn't going to be like the end of the world. Like you're not super fatigued, but it does give your body a chance to just like get breathing under control. Change your music. That's important. Get the right song on for this lift. And just take a minute to like breathe, go through like, okay, I like to look at like, okay, this is the reps. This is what I'm doing. Let's go. And if I'm looking back from my last time I've done it, then I'm thinking, okay, last time I nailed, 11 reps. I want to bust out 12, 13 reps every single set here with the potential of maybe upping my weight. So this is where we just take a little brief pause before we go in and we go in. Cool. So this would be an example of a warm up. It really shouldn't take you that long. I know mentally it's going to sound like, oh, this is a lot. But what it is, like I said, priming your body to really be able to lift heavy and not leave any gains on the table. Now, same thing with another example, a little bit different for if somebody works with a dumbbell or at home. With a dumbbell goblet squat, right? Working weight would be, say we're using 50 pounds. Same thing, 10 reps. This would be body weight only, right? So we're only going body weight. We don't need a barbell or anything like that. You can immediately do 10 reps and then go to 50%. So then we'd go to 25-pound dumbbell, 5 reps. The next set we do 75 to 80%, which would be 35 to 40 pounds for 3 reps. And then you can do 90 to 100%, which would be 45 to 50 for 1 rep. Again, rest, get your mind ready, get your song on, get ready. Like I said, even just looking back, especially if this is the first time you've done it, You can just be mentally thinking like, okay, I'm not sure about this weight, so we're really gonna push this first set to see, do I need to lift heavier next? Like, do I need to bring my weight down? Like, what am I finding out? What's the data? What is this information telling me? So I can make the next best call with the weight I use. So rest, give yourself a minute to like let the breathing come down, and then you can go right into your working set and you should be good to go. Let's walk through a dumbbell shoulder press. Just a totally different example, upper body day. And a smaller weight usage, right? Because you're thinking, oh, I could probably lift 15s. That's not a big deal. No, same thing. We don't want to just pick up those 15s and go. We want to still warm up the body, even though it's very different from like 170 pounds. But you also have to remind yourself like your upper body, your shoulders, specifically your shoulders and arms are have smaller muscles than your legs. So yes, while we might be using lower weights, that doesn't mean we shouldn't warm up either. So same thing, we're going to use 15s. This is how I like to write it. In like when I'm writing, I don't like put 15 pounds unless it's like the whole weight. So if I was putting this as like 30 pounds, that's how I would write it. But I like to put 15 so I know I'm using two 15-pound dumbbells. That works for my brain. If something else works for yours, just note it because those kinds of things can make a big difference too, where you're like, did I use a total of 15 pounds? Or did I use two 15s? This just keeps it really super clear in my brain, like, yep, it's just this weight, or I'm using two different dumbbells, but same weight, it really helps. So that's why I wrote it that way. If you're like, why didn't you write 15 pounds? Because to me, 15 pounds would be 7.5s. Body weight only, which sounds silly. You could also start with like 5 pounds here, but sometimes it feels good just to go through the motions body weight. I know sometimes people will be like, no, but you could start with 5. I'll be honest. But sometimes just doing the motion, feeling the movement, lining things up, keeping everything beautiful, really focusing on like form and posture. If you're sitting or standing, huge. Go to immediately 50% of your working weight. So that'd be 5 to 7s. Then go to 75, 80%. That'd be a tens. And then 90 to 100 would be 12 to 15s for one rep. You should be feeling really good and really strong in this movement. And you should be able to crush out your shoulders and safely with no injury. So warming up is going to be one of the best things we can do. Now, as we go through, let me know. I'll stop here, like as just like a pause of like if you have any questions here about this, let me know because I know this can be, confusing at first, but as you do it and as you practice it, you should be able to notice like, wow, I really have been leaving some things on the table with like my weight, and that could be 100% impacting your growth and your muscle growth. Because if we're not lifting as heavy as we can, our body's going to just maintain its just natural state. We got to keep challenging and pushing it to really grow. So, this just a couple of examples, and if anybody has another example that they want to run through, I'm always happy to run through it with you. So, my favorite question, and I mean this is my favorite question because I think as coaches, we get asked this a lot. And I think people wonder about this a lot, like how heavy should I lift? And the question is having to going to be pulled right back to you because it's always going to depend on you. It always is. And there's no app, there's no coach, there's no random person online that can be like, yes, I feel what you're feeling in that moment. And I know the weight you should be lifting, especially like when you first are new to us. It's like we have to learn you and your body. And the more we get to see your form feedback, we also get to see, I can immediately be like, girl, you've got more reps. Let's go. Let's push, or not heavy enough. Let's go. That is super helpful because I can watch a set and be able to tell you like we need to push, but a lot of times it's going to start with you, right? And you being really connected to your body. So You also, for the record, come with very unique pieces only you have. For example, I have really long legs. I have long femurs. I have long tibias, and I have a shorter torso. It may not look like it in pictures and things like that, but I literally have like I'm not exaggerating, literally this much space between the bottom of my rib and the top of my hip bone. And so I have a very different squat than other people do. Um, just with different biomechanics. People who have longer torsos and long legs, they're going to have a different squat than someone with like short legs and a long torso. All of those things are very dependent on you. And so those things, even past injuries, can dictate how heavy you can lift. And so it's not that you can't lift heavy, because heavy is always going to be relative, is what I like to say. It's going to be relative based on like how many reps you're doing. Like for me, when I'm lifting 5 reps versus 10 reps versus 20 reps, all I'm lifting heavy on, but obviously the 20 reps, I'm going to be lifting a lot lighter weight than if I'm lifting 5 reps, right? Because the lower the reps, the more weight I can push. The higher the reps, obviously, the lower the weight I'm going to push. So it's lifting heavy is always going to be very individual to you. And I do see sometimes where women are like, well, what are other women doing? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. I know we like to compare and we've been taught to compare, and comparison can be great, but it's also like comparison with context. Are we truly understanding like who I'm comparing myself to? Am I comparing myself to someone like who's exactly like me? Because even if they are, they're not. They're not. So we want to just say like it's really, this is the thing I think I love most about building your body and in the gym is it really is you versus you. It really is. And it's not about what other people lift because there's always different reasons they might be lifting heavier or lighter or whatever. So anyway, my point as I go on a tangent is only you know if that weight is feeling challenging. And a lot of times we're going to have to push ourselves to know if we're being challenged. So I'm putting I'm putting very general guidelines in here. Okay, very, 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 very general. And it's not absolute. And I want you to hear that. But guidelines for your upper body. So for, like I said, your shoulders, your arms, biceps, triceps. These pieces, they're smaller muscles. They fatigue faster. You're probably going to be using lower weights. So when we're thinking about like a lateral raise, for example, that movement is challenging, especially as we drive to the top. That most likely you're going to be stuck in a range of 5 to 15s. I'm not saying you won't go outside of that, you will, but I promise you it's going to be really challenging to grow with these suckers because your body, like I said, these are smaller muscles. They're going to take a little bit more. So, most likely, you're going to be using some lower weights for your shoulders. If it's like the rear delt, the lateral delt, the front delt, or your biceps and triceps. Most likely. I'm not saying you can't lift heavy or you won't or you aren't lifting heavier than this now. Like this is what I'm saying, general. And then back, lats, rhomboids, traps. This is going to be really, really beautiful. Your back, bigger muscles, right, than your shoulders and your biceps and your triceps. So these can usually handle more load. So like a cable row or a lat pull down, you might be able to do like 40, 50 pounds versus like 5 to 15. Now legs, oh my gosh, your glutes, your quads, and your hammies. These are some of the biggest, your lats and your glutes are usually the biggest muscles in our body. Now, again, everybody's different based on where we are. And you can easily push more weight with your lower body. And most women, I know don't believe it, but they truly can. And really pushing that weight to failure is everything. So, a lot of times you'll notice like hip thrusts, RDLs, people can up the weight a lot quicker. And that doesn't mean, and I don't want anybody to be like, oh man, I'm not doing 100 pounds. I'm not doing it right. No, because I know I can think of like myself, past clients who, they've struggled with certain movement patterns and really feeling that mind muscle connection. We didn't want to push weight until we nailed that form. We don't want to do that. It's not, this is where again it goes to comparison. There's always going to be movement patterns. For me and my long legs, squats, not my favorite, but a hip thrust, yeah. Me and my hip thrust, good friends. RDLs and me, beautiful friends. Those movements feel so good on my body. Squats, more challenging because I have super long femurs and super long tibias that I have a lot longer way to go down. And the way my mechanics go make it a little bit more challenging. Doesn't mean I can't. Also, a deadlift, I probably have the ugliest deadlift, and it's not because I can't deadlift. It's just because my short torso versus my long legs, I literally look like I'm almost like this, flat on the bar versus upright. And that I can't control because I can pull up as much as I possibly can and get my chest up, and it just looks very different. So know that because especially you'll watch people on social media, you see coaches, I mean, I don't care, you see people online and you're like, oh, I should do that. And that's how I should be doing it. And you might even be like, oh, they're lifting that much. I should be lifting that much. No, you stay in your lane, put those horse blinders on and be like, okay, I'm going to watch me. I'm going to record my weights. I'm going to log everything so I can crush this out of the water. So it's really going to depend on you. And I say that because the best way we're going to find if you're lifting heavy enough is one, pushing you to that point of getting to a place of failure, right? Because if you've never been to failure, you don't actually know what it feels like to get there. And and once you've kind of learned what that feels like, you know what those last couple of reps feel like too. So we just have to keep pushing you and getting a little uncomfortable. That's the name of the game, get uncomfortable. So this is something that this is also going to help a lot with figuring out your weights because especially you'll find with us, we don't keep you in the exact same rep range every single phase. You're going to go through phases with higher reps and lower reps, or sometimes you'll have different reps all over the place for one set. All of it has intention and purpose, and we do that for a reason. But what can happen is what we want to do is really beautifully track our weight and our reps and how hard it was. So in True Coach, record every single lift. And I'm going to show you some examples here in a minute, but we're going to go through like overarching pieces. Cool. Yay. So record. This is what I want you to record every single set. And I will show some examples so you know an example. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but bear with me. We want the weight you lifted, right? So if we go back to our squat example, 170 pounds for 10 reps. We want to know how many reps you crushed out, right? Just because it says 10 doesn't mean I just stop at 10. I want to do as many reps as I possibly can. So if I'm like, dang it, I've done this. I did this last week, not this week. I'm on a deload this week because my body was needing a timeout because I was training really hard and my body said no more. So we have to listen. Um, but your reps, we say like, we easily can be like, oh, I put 170 pounds on the bar. I did my 10 reps, but maybe I could have pushed it to like 14, 15, 16 reps. I'm leaving a lot on the table when I'm leaving those last reps. So we don't want to just stop. We want to keep pushing it with beautiful form. Okay. We don't want to just push through and like let our abs go or let, our form get really messy. That's not going to keep us safe. We want to keep beautiful form. But a lot of times your mind is always going to give up before your body. So we record that. And then we can also record how many reps left you felt like you had. So this is going to come with time. And I said this, and I'll say this probably 100 more times. we have to learn what that feels like with those last couple reps before we completely feel like to know how many reps we have left in us. So if you've never been like, I don't know if I have ever failed, that's a good sign that we probably need to do it on a movement that you first feel comfortable with, okay? Not something that you're like, ooh, my RDLs are really challenging for me. No, that's not the movement. Or I'm lifting super heavy squats, probably not the movement. Start with something like a leg extension, a hamstring curl, bicep curl, shoulder press, something that can, a lateral raise. Those movements you can start kind of getting the gist of, and then we can grow into other movements, but start slow. Start with something that we can, like, we feel confident in, and really push it to that place so we can start seeing, like, well, what does it look like to have like 2 reps left? What does it really look like to have 1 rep left? Because I bet right now, you may not know. And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just a piece of like, most likely you might be leaving 5 or 6 reps on the table thinking you've got 2 more reps left in you. And so this is where we want to reflect while you're resting, right? I love a good rest time because if you worked really hard, you're gonna need the rest. There's no way you can pick up that weight again really quickly. You're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that was me the other day. I was like, I need like 30 more seconds. And I did. I waited a whole 30 more seconds because I needed it. But you reflect, did it feel easy? Did it feel comfortable? Was it challenging? Could I have actually done more here, right? Um, if we're not tracking, we're guessing. If we're not logging everything really detailed, we're just guessing or we're just going through the motions. And then we don't get the results we want, right? And that's the most frustrating. It's like I'm working out, I'm putting all this work in, and my body's not changing. And it's not that you're not working hard. Please don't hear me. You probably 100% are, but we're leaving this little bit of room that is essential for building muscle on the table, right? We'll talk about that too. Just keep it in your back pocket. But one way, and I'm going to share this with you. One of my favorite things to use as a tool. It's not perfect, but these, every time you're recording your weights and your reps, sometimes it's like, well, how do I change when I've had 15 reps with a lateral raise to 8 reps, right? That's a big difference. How do I figure out what weight I use? One of my favorite things is using this 1 rep max calculator. It's not fancy, it's not special, it's just pretty basic, but what it can do, I'll show you. So we're gonna go back to the squat example just because it's in our brains. So 170 pounds, right? You don't have to put in the type of lift. You're just putting in the weight. You can also change this to kilograms if you track in kilograms. But we did that for 10 reps. Okay, maybe let's actually say I was supposed to do it for 10 reps, but I actually got 14 reps. Now what I can do, I just push that little blue button that says calculate 1 rep max. And look what it does. It takes me down and it says, okay, this would be your 1 rep max for a squat. If I was going to go PR, just if I was a power lifter, this might be something I do in a competition. Cool. Not a power lifter, not my vibe. Um, there's nothing wrong with it. My husband is one. But if I like was thinking, okay, well, I've been doing, we said these 170 pounds for 14 reps. What if I needed to do 8 reps? Well, this is going to give me a great idea of where I can start. Is it perfect? No. Have I used this as like a starting place? 100%. There is many times where I'm like, this, I might even say, hey, I haven't lifted 8 reps in a minute. I might bring this down to like 195. Or if I'm feeling like, no, I'm feeling strong, I'm feeling good, let's go 199 or 200. Let's do it. Then I have a good starting weight. Or if I was going to do 20 reps, right? Now I have an idea of what 20 reps would look like based on this. So same thing. Say I was doing eights for lateral raises and I did those for 15 reps, right? I don't know if actually, yes, I did. The weights changed dramatically. But now I wanted to know what it was like for 6 reps. Well, now I can see, okay, 8 for 15, but now I just move up to maybe 10s, maybe potentially 12s. But I'm even looking here, this makes sense to me. Yeah, I probably would not be lifting that. So that is something that we can keep thinking about is, hey, I can use, oh, if I'm tracking and logging all of my data, I can use those, especially in TrueCoach. It has like exercise history and it has the weights you've used before. You can easily come in and put this into this calculator and you are good to go. Now, fun fact, I just lost my presentation. Let's see. Um, Maybe I can go back a couple times. Let's see. Yay. Sorry about that. I didn't think about that it just took me out. Thanks for that little pause. So then we can use this as like I said, a starting place, and we can adjust and pivot as you need. And this is why we can adjust every single set. We don't have to do, just because we start at 170 pounds for that barbell squat doesn't mean I have to go, okay, I have to stay at 170 pounds for every single set now and just crush out more reps. It's like, no, we really want to try to hit the 10 reps, but we want to hit it close to that failure piece, not like, oh, I just hit 10 reps, check the box and move on. So one thing I want you to think about, and this kind of goes with like everything, is if you're feeling comfortable with your weight, you're like, this is feeling really good. We're not challenging ourselves. We don't want to get comfortable. We want to finish the set thinking like I had maybe 1 or 2 reps, but that's it. Like there's no way I could have pushed any harder, but you're going to have to start testing yourself and your limits because you don't know until you know what it feels like. And it's hard to just be like, this is exact, I'm going to give you some, but it's going to be hard for you to really know because your body is going to still show some of these signs way before you've reached failure. And I never want you to like leave the gains on the table. It's important. So, lifting heavier with good form is how we build your muscle. It will boost your metabolism, more muscle, more food, which is exciting, and you will shape your body 100%. So not tracking will, if you don't track, and I'm going to show you 2 different ways, this will impact how we can progressive overload and really push. So, how not to track. And this is, I know this is, I said I'm showing you 2 ways. I'm showing you one way that I would say doesn't serve us. It's not the worst thing, but I'm going to share why I don't think this is going to be as helpful. So sometimes people will put like 3 sets of 170 pounds, right? Now, here's the thing. When we step back, I want you to think like, is this information, what is it really telling us, right? It's telling me I did every single set for all 10 reps, right? Now, I don't know if I was capable of doing more reps. I don't know if I like was able to do more reps on set 1 versus set 3. I don't know if I was feeling good, if this was feeling challenging. Um, I mean, this is where it's like, what is this information? Like when we're looking back at this, we're going, cool. Now I just pick up 170 pounds this next week. Okay, cool. I'm looking at my notes. I did 170 pounds last week. Cool. I'm gonna do 170 pounds this week when it's like, well, time out. Like, what if we needed to be upping the weight or upping the reps, but we have no idea what we did? And I don't know about you. Um, I put this question in. Are you really gonna remember what you did last session? Because trust me, there are times I'll be like, I'll remember this, and no, I won't. No, I won't. So much is happening from the last Tuesday to the next Tuesday I did this exercise. I'm not going to remember exactly what happened. And when I write my notes, it'll bring back things like, oh yeah, I do remember that. But if I don't have my notes, I have nothing here. This is telling us really nothing. It's just numbers to me on a paper. And it's like, we really have to think like, are we truly aware? Could we push more? Were we at really close to failure and we're like, no, stay here with this weight? I don't know. Are we thinking like, oh, this weight actually felt really good and easy? Are we going through the motions, right? And this isn't to be like annoying or to like poke, I want to poke some holes because this is where we're going to make the biggest difference. Because how do you know how you're progressively overloading, right? Because progressive overload can look like more reps, more weight, and better form. And there are other ways, but we're going to start with those are like our big three. And how do we know how to continue to challenge and push ourselves if this is what we put in our notes? Do I do more reps? Do I do more weight? Do I need better form? Like, what do I really need here? And when we have that direction, right, when we know where our brain is going for that set, makes it a lot easier. And I'm going to keep saying this, but like, did we just stop at 10 reps because that was what we did? Like, we're like, cool, I got 10 reps. And for the record, when I first started my journey, I did this. Like, I was like, cool, I could hit my 10 reps and then I'd rest and I'd have a little dance party. That was a sign that was not lifting enough weight. Um, but what it taught me over time was like, hey, I need to really push these reps and get uncomfortable. Because are we even close to failure? Are we leaving a lot of reps on the table? And I'm going to say this again, but your last reps are going to be where the real money happens. That's where the magic, that's where the growth is going to happen. Not the first reps that are feeling pretty nice and easy, not when it's slowing down and feeling harder. It's the grinding reps. It's the reps at the very, very end that are going to build you up. So I just don't want anybody leaving their dream body on the table. Okay. Okay. Um, so I say all of that with this piece. Now we're going to go on to how to track like a pro. Now, this is how I personally track. There are other ways you can track and take notes. So don't feel like this is the only way. Okay. This is the way I've done it for a very long time and it makes sense and works for my brain. So, what we want to do, same example, right? We're doing a barbell squat, 3 sets of 10, same thing. The first number I'm going to write down is my weight. I like to put the number of reps in parentheses, and then I usually put a little dash and I just type out my notes. Anything that I need to know. So, this would look like barbell squat, 4 sets of 10, right? I put 170 pounds on the bar. I did 10 reps. And this is when I'm resting, I'm in my notes, I put stopped, let my mind chatter. That to me, for anybody who wants to know what that means, it just means I was letting Patricia talk to me and like talk to myself out of it. I was questioning if I could lift more. I was getting in my head. I said, next set, keep weight, bust out more reps, do it. That was my, so now I already have an intention and a purpose for my next set. It's not like, cool, I'm just gonna go lift 10 reps. It's like, no, I know I could have lifted more. I left some reps on the table, not again, not again. So 170 pounds, put it back on. I busted out 4 more reps. That means I probably could have probably even busted out more here, just knowing me. So I was like, knew it. I literally talked to myself. Knew it. Went to failure, had maybe 1 more rep, up weight immediately. Not next week, now. So I went up to 175 pounds. Next note was pushed it. Like I pushed it, had the reps, quads, and glutes on freaking fire. I was like, no, we were golden. I need to up weight again. So I went to 180 pounds and same thing. What did I do? I said pushed. This was challenging, quads and glutes rocked. And then after my whole entire set, right, I didn't quite hit the 10 reps. I honestly feel like this is one of those pieces where I can work to that 180. And now I know I'm going to keep the weight at 175 pounds and start next week there. Work to really push the reps and let's see how we're feeling and push to 180 again. That now I know next week when I pick up the barbell, this is what we're doing, right? This allows me to really be in such a clear headspace and I know exactly what's happening set to set. So I'm not just sitting here going, cool, I'm just going to keep being 170 pounds and then what? Just keep pushing reps and pushing reps? No, we still want to hit that 10 reps. We still want to crush those out. And I'm going to keep pushing and challenging myself to do it. And even calling myself out, I know it's not fun to be like, dang it, but it's real. Like, this is real life. We're gonna have moments where Patricia is gonna talk and be like, oh, this is feeling heavy. Oh, I'm not feeling it today. Oh, I probably had more reps there. Especially I knew I was like, I had more reps. I had more and I was letting my mind get to me. No, I'm not gonna let it do it second set. No, let's go. So we did. This is what my notes look like, and sometimes more. Sometimes there's even more notes um based on like even things I want to remember for the next time, or like, hey, these felt freaking amazing. Like, keep this weight, but we're gonna keep challenging ourselves, even though these felt amazing. Push that next 5 pounds. Like, we got it. Push the reps, push form. Like, I will write like form, nope, we're bringing down weight, we're focusing on form, let's go. So these notes, the next time you step in, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, we're not doing that again. We're busting up to 175. And then we're gonna really, really push those reps, and potentially maybe as we go on set 3 and 4, see if I can push the weight. And yes, I am gonna be more fatigued, but your brain, every time we're fighting the weight and we're resting, your body is getting ready and prepared to lift more weight. It is in fight or flight mode. That's literally what we're doing when we're fighting against this weight. Your body thinks you're running from tigers, and it is when you're resting, it's literally like, we're getting so jazzed up to go again that I will 100% be able to sometimes push weight those last couple of sets and be able to go. So this is where you take each set. It's not like, cool, I'm just lifting 170 all 4 reps and then we just, right? Like, if I didn't have those notes, I probably would just be sitting at 170. Maybe I'd push my weight to 175 eventually, or maybe I'd push a couple maybe a rep or two more. But had I not like written my notes, pushed myself, I would have been leaving so many gains on the table, right? Because here I can see, okay, there was no way I could push up another rep. I was done. I know I'm hitting really close here. I'm not here. So many questions, right? So the more we can log and write, and this is where you can use your rest periods, yes, to rest, but write in those little notes. And it just helps immensely because it's not only you writing down your brain now, but your next session is going to go so much smoother because now what we're doing is setting a purpose and intention for your next session too. We already have a game plan for next week. So when you're going to the gym super early in the morning or super late at night or whenever you go, you're like, game on, here we go. I don't have to think. Sierra of the past was like, here you go, map laid out for you. Record your weights, record your reps, write those little notes. It really does make a huge difference. Huge. Um, Now, this is going to be something that if you've never trained to failure, it's going to be hard to really fully, capably understand what it means. And so, this is what I said earlier. Take an exercise you feel really comfortable with. And the next, I'm going to give you a massive challenge for like next week is pick an exercise that you're going to go and push to failure, like failure, and really see and feel and take in the experience of how it feels. Because the big thing that can happen is I see a lot of times people leaving reps on the table. We want to stay in this rep range. We want to leave, well, I was trying to highlight just the first three, 0 to 2 reps. We want to leave that on the table. And the closer we can get to like 1 to 0 reps, is going to yield a better result. Now, the closer we get, like 3, 4, 5 reps, we're starting to leave your gains on the table and we're going to maintain our muscle. So we want to be thinking, I like to think of how many reps do I have left in my tank? And going to failure will teach you what that feels like, looks like. And you can start to be like, okay, I'm getting close. But a lot of times you have to, you can't, we don't necessarily always need to go straight to 0 reps where you're like, there's no way I could push up that next thing at all. Leaving a rep or two will be huge. But if you can keep pushing yourself, you're going to see the muscle grow. Now, if we're not, this is like I put here, like moderate intensity, you're now leaving gains on the table. Gains on the table. You're five left. Like, no, this isn't going to be your biggest thing, leaving these many reps on the table. So the more we can push those last reps, that's what we want. And you're probably now going like, what does that even look like, right, Sarah? What does training to failure really look like? And how does it feel? So, what I want us to do is go through what those first reps, mid reps, last reps. So, the first reps are going to feel smooth, right? You pick up that weight and you're like, oh, this is nice and easy. I'm feeling good. You feel good. You feel in control. They're smooth, controlled, easy. Okay, mid set. So now we're like middle of the way, halfway where we should be. The movement is going to start slowing down. And I'm not saying like super slow. It's going to start slowing. Burns are going to start kicking in. You're going to be like, ooh, I'm feeling the burn. The final reps. This is where you're going to be making some ugly faces. Your face is going to be tensing. Your breath, it's going to be harder to breathe. It's going to be harder to brace. Muscles are visibly shaking. You're grinding through. The slowdown is even slower. You're slow. And the mind is going to be screaming at you to stop. Don't. Don't. Now, there's a difference between knowing like I'm going to hurt myself, but there's also that place where you're just like, your brain's like, ouch, that hurts, stop. And we're like, okay. And you had five more reps, three or five more reps. And that is where your gains are. Those last reps that your mind's like, stop, stop, because your brain's going to try to keep you safe. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to keep you surviving, not thriving, right? It's, well, yes, it can. But like in a situation where we're in fight or flight mode, it's gonna be like, let's go. I'm trying to keep you alive. You're in danger. Save you, save you, save you. But what it's saving you from is no gains. So no, don't listen. But if you know you're gonna get hurt, listen to your body. That doesn't mean push through injury. That doesn't mean push through a heavy lift that you don't feel like your form is on. Or if you're like, I know I should be feeling this in my glutes, but my quads are doing all the work, that's a sign, right? So how do we know we're close to failure? The reps will super slow down. Not just the slow down, mid set, they'll slow down, but you'll be like grinding. You'll be like, I can't do it. You'll feel that burn. And I want you to start seeing that burn as not a stop, but keep going, forge on. Most likely, you've got 3 to 5 reps left in your tank that you can bust out. Your brain will want to stop, but I like to live with this mantra that's one rep more. And that's all I focus on is, okay, I'm only going to focus on this next rep, get it up, let's go. So I'll give an example. I was doing leg extensions and I had 3 sets of 20. And the very first set, I put the weight on and my quads were already burning at set 10. The burn was happening at rep 10, not set 10. That would be insane. Rep 10, my quads were already like, ouch. And most people would stop. And I was like, one more rep, let's go. One more rep, let's go. I ended up getting 21 reps. I want you to hear that. 21 reps. And 21 reps was immediately to failure. There's no way. I actually tried to go 21. I was like, one more rep, girl, let's go. And I couldn't get it up. Real, that was failure. I couldn't get it up. So 21 reps was it. But had I stopped at 10 when it was burning, I wouldn't be building or doing anything to my quads. Nothing. Nothing but maintaining. So this is where that burn means keep going. Keep going. So feel that burn, keep going. Keep going. I want you to hear me in your brain. Keep going. And then I want you to get on the 1 rep max, not 1 rep more train. I want you to think you hit 10 reps. Amazing. 1 rep more. Let's go. You hit that rep, you get up and you go, cool, 1 rep more. Let's go. And you start telling your brain because your brain's gonna be like, no, stop, don't, it hurts. And you go, no, 1 rep more, 1 rep more. We got this, 1 rep more. And that we have to kind of bust through some of that chatter and we got to push. And of course, this is going to be something I will say over and over, obviously form over ego. We never want you lifting We want you to train hard. We want you to lift heavy. But again, heavy is going to be very specific to you. We want proper form. We want the right intention and we want the right execution. We don't want to just be like, if form breaks, we don't want to keep going. Stop, right? That is form failure. That is failure. We don't want to keep pushing through bad form. So if you notice, like, I'm doing a lat pull down and all of a sudden my arms are doing the work, stop. Your lats aren't working anymore. Now we're just using your arms to pull that thing down. That's not growing my lats. It's not doing the work we want. And we really want to think about building that mind muscle connection and getting it nice and clear. So if we haven't reached your reps, so say you're supposed to get 10 reps and you got 8, girl, no, lower the weight. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't let that get in your head because we always think, hey, is pushing through this really going to serve me? Like, is pushing and trying to like push this, is this doing what I really want it to do? Or am I letting this number dictate everything? Because we're letting a number mean things, which we do. Like, I think I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Numbers mean things like weight, not just weight, but if we look at measurements, weight, grades in school, these numbers have always said something. Sorry, you can probably hear my dog. Give me just a second. She needs to come in. Come on. Sorry. Um, but same with weights we use in the gym. We're like, if I'm not lifting heavier, there I must be doing something wrong. When the reality is your body might just need more time to adapt to that weight. It just needs more practice with that form and technique. It doesn't mean we need to go get upset that it's like, oh, I have to lower weight. Something's wrong with me because your muscles don't know what weight you're putting on the barbell. Your muscles don't know what weight you're putting on in your dumbbells on the lat pull down machine. It doesn't know. It knows the tension, it knows what it's working. That's all it knows. We humans are putting all this meaning in numbers, and it's human, it's us, right? We've been taught to like think grades, numbers mean you're doing good or you're doing bad. And it's like, hey, these numbers aren't really telling us if we're doing good or bad. They're data. All of this is data, so we can really train to failure and really work these muscles. So I like to say, master the rep, master every single rep, then we master the set, and then we master the session. Cool. Now, why do we want to train to failure or close to? Because we don't necessarily need to train straight to failure every single set because you can absolutely burn yourself out. And you'll know because recovery won't be great. You'll notice your weights might start to regress in the gym when they've been building and building, and you've been feeling so strong. And now you're like, oh my gosh, this weight is feeling too heavy. I have to drop. Those are signs that we might be pushing a little too hard, slash under recovered, under fueled. There's more than one reason, but we really want to think if we're leaving the last 1 to 2 reps is really where we're building new muscle. And it takes a lot to build millimeters of muscle. So when we're thinking, if we're leaving all these reps in the tank, you're going to maintain the muscle you have. And that's frustrating because it is going to burn, it's going to hurt. You're going to be like, I am working hard, but we have to get uncomfy and uncozy and push. This is why I will always say building muscle is so much harder than losing fat because losing fat is hard. And I don't want you to hear that and be like, oh my gosh, losing fat is hard. It is. But building muscle, if we're not really pushing and getting uncomfortable and challenging, we're gonna stay the same. And that is super frustrating when you're putting in work and you're doing all the things. So training, if we're leaving 3, 4, 5 reps in the tank, and sometimes we don't think we are. Sometimes we're like, no, I'm training so hard. And this is where I'd say challenge yourself. Game on, right? Game on, everybody. Ladies, let's go. Choose an exercise this week. Just one. You can do one every day if you want, but choose one that you feel good with, comfortable with, confident in, and go take that sucker to failure. And then let's talk. And I want to see what you thought, what happened, what you noticed in your body, all of the things, because we should be seeing that super slow down, the burn, and the grind is going to happen. Um, so training to failure is going to increase like your motor units, and then what that will do is recruit more fibers, build more muscle, and we want that goal to have failure to perfect form. Training is a hard skill. Effort is a skill. Mental resiliency to push through, also a skill. These are all things we are going to have to do to build muscle. If you're feeling comfortable with your weight and you're feeling like, I like this weight, this feels really good, that's a sign you probably need to up the reps, up the weight. You're probably not lifting heavy enough. I have a rule of thumb that if I'm not questioning the weight, or if I'm not like sitting, I unconsciously do this. Like every time I'm doing a heavy lift where I'm like, okay, here we go. I like squeeze my pony up in the gym. I just realized this lately. And it's like my like mental pep talk. I'm having like a mental pep talk and I like tighten my pony. It's like, let's do this. We're going. If you're not having a mental pep talk before your lift, if you're not questioning the weight you're using on like rep two, you're probably not lifting heavy enough. You're probably leaving some things on the table and you aren't lifting to true failure. Now, you are stronger than you think, so prove it rep by rep. And the best way to do this is not think, okay, I'm gonna bust out, I'm supposed to do 10 reps, but I think I'm gonna bust out 15. I want you to go, cool, 10 is my goal, but I'm not stopping at 10. My mantra is gonna kick in. I'm like, one more rep. Once I hit 10, it's like one more rep. Up, good. One more rep. Up, nice. One more rep. Up, let's go. One more rep. Let's go. Let's go. Ah, it's burning. Let's go. I'm literally having mental pep talks with myself the entire time. So you want to think intensity is going to be your intention, your effort, and your execution. This is what's going to help build your muscle. And you don't just start training hard. You learn how to train hard and you have to practice it. Just like anything else, just like nutrition, we have to practice this connection to our body, this connection with like bracing properly, activating the muscles, really having that mind muscle connection, but also being mentally ready that my brain is going to fight me and my body can always do more. And most will quit when it gets hard, but lean in with presence and intention, and your body will 100% grow. Um, Something I think that really hit home for me in my prep when I was doing my bikini comp prep. And I was doing, and this is an extreme, so don't hear this and be like, I should be doing that. Negative. I felt like garbage for the record. But at that point, we were close to the end, and I was doing 2 hours of cardio and all my lifts, right? Now, 2 hours of cardio on the Stairmaster. It's a lot of cardio and it's fatiguing. And mentally, your brain is like, especially like the first cardio session, you do your gym session, your cardio, you're like, okay, checked those boxes. Then later, life happens. For example, my kids, I'm a mom, I'm driving sports and all of these things, dinner. And then I'm like, it's 9 o'clock at night and I have to do my last hour of cardio. Well, guess what? I did my last hour of cardio. Did I want to? No. Was Patricia like, we don't think we can do this. This is too much. But you know what? I took it step by step and it's so fascinating. I share this because, it's so easy for our mind to be like, you're tired, you're done, you can't, there's no more. And at that place, I was like, wow, I'm still able to push through. My mind was like, nope, but my body was like, let's go. We'll do it. And your mind is always going to stop before your body will. And even there's like proven science out there that like even if we're training to failure, it's still your mind stopping you before your body would. So it's those places where it's like you really can push, especially if you want to shape your body. And especially in those movements, think you don't need to take everything, but if you're like, I want to grow my glutes, girl, your glute movements, we should be pushing, right? If you're like, I want to build my shoulders, your shoulders. We should be pushing. Those types of things. Those are the ones I would say start with and really lean in hard. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent. Continue. Now, I thought this might be helpful. Um, there's just a couple different examples of like training to failure. I thought we could watch. They're short and sweet. Um, they're not of me. I'm sorry. I'm on a deload. My coach would yell at me. But what I'm hoping, I'm going to try and pause my, because I don't really want to hear them. But what I want you to watch is like, this is sometimes how people move through the sets, right? They're like, boom, boom, boom. But watch as she slows down. Watch the faces she's making. Watch that. That is where we see that training to failure come in, where she's like, people go super fast and they're going through the motions, but we're really watching that slow down. You can see she's fighting everything there. Perfect. Now, another example. Sorry, I didn't think about this. I should have had this open in like another page. Here's another example. When you can see this guy looks like he's fighting for his life. You're like, he's on his last reps. Boom. He's able to crush out another one. He's thinking, you can almost see him thinking, like, can I get another one? And it's like, God, look at the faces. Look. This is what we're talking about when we're saying, obviously, these are dudes. Dudes are a little different from us, but the rest are all guys. It was hard to find women, which I'm somewhat not surprised, but um, it's just hard to find sometimes these pieces with training. And this one, he was talking about just he had like 5 reps last week and he was really trying to bust out 7. And you can see him visibly shaking. You can see the slowdown happening, the grind through. And he's like, one more rep. See, people would have stopped at that last rep and he grinded through this last rep and pushed through failure, right? This is what failure really looks like. And I have one more for just good measure, right? It's nice to see. And I know this can be one of those pieces. This is why it's so important to continue to record yourself because sometimes you can even watch yourself and be like, I didn't even slow down. Like I wasn't even slowing down. It felt hard. I was mentally like, this is hard, but my body was still able to move weight. It's real. And so this is rep, he's saying 6 of 8. This is where he's getting close to the end. And look at him go. Look at the slow. It's super slow. Yeah. And then look at this last rep. It's going to look brutal, right? It's like the faces, the breathing, right? The super slow, the grind. It's like, oh my gosh, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. He's fighting for his life. Go. Very real, right? This is that space that we really want to push. And at the end of the day, that's just like the things we want to think about is how can we keep pushing in those moments? I hope that that recorded my voice over that. So, sorry, some technical things this time. Bear with me. Um, Now, this is going back to the mind because, like I said, the mind is a powerful force in your training, and your mind will always stop you. Always, always will stop you before the body stops. So, obviously, stop if you're going to feel like you're going to get hurt, right? There's a difference between like, ouch, I'm hurting my muscle because I'm working it, and ouch, I'm hurting myself and injuring myself, right? Very big difference. But you'll be surprised what your body is capable of, what it can push through, even when you're like, nope, nope, I don't think so. It can your mind will even just starting with noticing when your mind is talking to you, being like, stop, 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 stop. That's a really good place to start, just being aware of when it's happening. Um, because this is where we can start talking back to it and being like, one more rep, right? So, some of my favorite things that I personally just say to myself, these are not an exhaustive list. You might have some like power phrases or things you say to yourself, use them. Um, there have been times in walking lunges, I've been like, finish it. One step, push. You will literally go. I will literally, I have my headphones in, right? So I'm jamming out to music, fighting for my life and walking lunges, and I'm yelling at myself. And I'm pretty sure I start saying it out loud. I I'm pretty sure I think I'm saying it in my head, but I'm pretty sure I'm like actually saying it. But I will literally be like one step, push, go, go, up, push, go, up, up, now, push. And I literally am because I'm literally talking back to Patricia because she's like, stop, ouch, ouch, ouch. This is killing me. No, no more, no more, no more. I'm like, yes, push, go. And I know I sound like a crazy lady right now, but that's how I bust out those last reps. And in a second, I will show you some progress that I've done, and I want to show you how this really does change it. So big thing is letting your mind talk and not allowing it to stop you, because you can't stop the thoughts from coming, right? There's no way we can stop the brain from being like, ouch, stop, no more. What we can do is talk back to it and be like, one rep more, push, let's go. I will use, you'll notice a lot of times it'll be push, go, more, now, up, like one word. That's all I got. But those are my favorite. Um, because it does just help, almost like a little like person like pep talking me on the side. And sometimes, if you have a training buddy, use your training buddy. Let them yell at you and push you. But if you don't have a training, I don't have a training buddy. I just am like, push, go. I've done this to my husband because he works out. I work out in the morning and he'll usually work out in the evening, afternoon, evening when he gets off of work. And sometimes I'll be like, no, you got one more, go, go, go. I'm annoying, but I love it because it's just pushing people where they want to stop, because the brain will stop you, but you got more. I know it. So when you feel that burn, when you feel that slow down, go, go. And understanding that your brain, right? Like I know I said this earlier, but discomfort in your brain means danger, right? Failure will not feel safe to you, but it is. You're fine. You're not going to die. That's what your brain is like, no, no more. Instead of like saying, this hurts, I'm going to stop now. I want you to say, like, this is where change is happening. This is where I grow. One rep more. Go. No. Uh, go again. Now. Up. Keep it simple, but use your brain to talk back, because just because your brain is like, ouchie, it hurts, it is going to hurt. I'm not going to lie to you. It is going to hurt, but it's temporary pain that will die off when you rest and then you get to go do it again. Um, for the record, your brain and your body is wired to survive, right? It's trying to protect you, but the goal here isn't to feel comfortable. If you're feeling comfortable, we're doing the wrong thing. It's really to challenge yourself and discover your capacity of what you're capable of. So keep pushing and testing your own limits. Form first, push, 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 push second. Okay? Push always. Um, and one of my best rules of thumb, if you're also like, I just don't, I'm worried, I don't want to do it every single set, then do a last set send off. And I call it like, this is your last set. Leave it all on the dang table. Your last hip thrust. Okay, you're not going to have to hip thrust after this, so don't stop. Like, don't you stop. Go and push it. This is where if you're like worried about testing failure, do it on the very last set and go, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm warmed up. I know the movement. Now I'm going to really push myself, because this last set, you should probably be the most fatigued. And say you bust out like 5 more reps, you're going to be like, okay, noted. Next time, up the weight. And I really need to think about pushing these reps. That last rep or last set send off is like, this is it. I'm leaving it all on the table. Let's go. Push it. Use those opportunities to really start challenging yourself and see, okay, could we push? Could we do more? Could we go down that space? Okay. Um, the very last piece we're going to talk about today is recovery is an absolute, 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 absolute must. Like, this is the piece that people forget. Sleep. And I know there's a lot with menopause, and there can be a lot of issues with insomnia and sleep and stress, but sleep is going to be your biggest key to stress management and for also recovering your body and helping it repair, helping it build, helping it just be in a happy place in general to continue to lift heavier. Sleep is one of the best things for stress too, like for everything. Like sleep is like everything. So prioritizing your sleep can be actually really huge for your muscle gains. And it sounds so silly and simple, but if you are like, I could probably like realistically get more sleep, it may be something that could be helping you recover better, be able to lift heavier, lift more, be stronger, faster, all of it. Sleep. This, if we don't get enough sleep, a lot of times this will impact your lifts. So if it's like a one-off, like you had just like a really bad night's sleep, it can absolutely show up where you might have to lower your weights or you're not feeling as strong. You can't progressively overload. I'm not saying you can't. There's 100 times I've been tired and had PRs. So it doesn't mean that just because you're tired, but it is a factor that can cause things to not look like you're progressing in the gym. Um, this is a big one, and I might go off on a small tangent, and I apologize in advance, but I'm not sorry. Food. We need building muscle, right? Requires food. When you think about a fat loss phase, the goal of your body is to break it down, right? We're breaking down fat to lose it. Now, think about something. If we're looking at a building, right? And we're supposed to be building up a building, but there's this big old wrecking ball coming through, not going to build a very great building and not fast at all, right? Wrecking ball is going to come in way faster than I can build up my muscle. So when we're living in a fat loss phase or constantly in a deficit and not taking time out of a deficit. So if you're in a deficit every couple of months, so maybe you're out of a deficit 3 or 4 months, cool. And then you go back into a fat loss phase, you're really not giving your body enough time to grow. That fat loss phase, you're not going to see the changes that you really want to make. And this really does go back to um, the reverse and maintenance training we did. If you haven't watched that, or if you're in that space, it might be a good rewatch, because when we're thinking about this, reversing to maintenance is really important, how you do it, and also keeping the habits and tools and skills. But if you are under eating and staying in a deficit all year round, it's going to hurt your gains and you are not going to see the growth, and you're going to feel frustrated. You're going to constantly feel like, why isn't my body changing? And it's like we haven't given it the right environment to really grow. We're constantly have this wrecking ball at it when really it needs to put the wrecking ball away, and we need to build brick by brick really nicely, put in the stuff. I'm not in construction. Put in the stuff, to really cement it down and build it brick by brick by brick. That's what we want. So no matter how hard you're training in a deficit, we don't have the most optimal place for you to grow. All right. So I will say this with so much love: don't stay in a deficit forever. I know that was something I really struggled with at the beginning of my journey, was like I just wanted to lose everything all at once, and I really just wanted to build muscle. I wanted to do all the things. But a lot of times it's like I should just be in a fat loss phase and get the fat off. I should be in maintenance or a surplus and build that muscle, and then I can always go in between these phases, but staying out of a deficit for a good chunk of time is what we should do. And there should be a time where it's like, we don't want to be in a deficit. Like, we're like, I'm just happy here, knowing I always can go back into a deficit, but we want to be able to just live too and continue to build and shape your body. Maintenance is going to be the place for that. So if you're like, oh, yeah, I keep wanting to go back into a deficit, start being like, why, right? Is it that you're looking? Because a lot of times what people are doing is they're like, I just need to get leaner to see my muscle. And it's like, you might not need to get any leaner. You might just need to build more muscle to really get the shape you're looking for. Um, Anywho, I will stop on that tangent. The other thing I will say is carbs are going to support your intensity in your training. It's going to fuel energy, recovery, stress, everything that we're putting on your body when we're trying to push really hard. Carbs are going to be your best friend. So, um, especially that's what you will see a lot of Queens of Iron. We will give you carbs because when we're trying to build muscle, if that is your goal, We need them. We need them. All right. Um, Now rest and recovery part two, rest, 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 right? Use your rest days. If you are feeling like, oh, I could work out on my rest day and I could just go balls to the wall and go so hard on my rest days, I can guarantee you are not training hard enough. I live for my rest days. And don't hear me wrong. I love my training sessions. I love leg day. I love leg day. Even my walking lunges where I'm dying. I love it. But I cannot wait when I'm like, I get to just rest my body. I get to just chill. I get to just, huh? Yeah, I live for it. And I'm like, I clap every day. I'm like, it is rest day. Even where I'm like, it is leg day because you are getting this beautiful opportunity to just let your body, it needs it to be productive, strategic. It's there to allow your body to build, rest, recover, grow, come back. If we don't rest, we're working against our body. More, more isn't always better. Better is always better. Something to also think about is your water intake. Um, your muscles are usually around like 70% water. Okay. Now, lack of water, or if you got less water than you normally do, or right now, especially it's summer for most people, it's hot for most people. Um, you can, if you don't have enough water, we'll see a 15% reduction in your weights, right? So think 170 pounds, that would be like 22 pounds. I would be dropping my weight to like 148 pounds, less than that, or more than that. No, it'd be about there because I upped my weight. So outside of 170, so 180, like we could go there. But when we're looking at that, it's like that's a lot of weight that I'm like leaving on the table because I'm just not hydrating. So use your water. Water is such a powerful tool and it's one that's easily missed and overlooked. But for athletes, I would not have anybody, and I consider everybody here an athlete, 100 ounces of water. I would say 120 to 140 ounces, especially during the warmer months, are probably going to serve you best. Especially like anytime you're training, those days, if you can even just get a little bit more water on your training days, it's going to help. But I would say, even on your rest days, getting the water in because the next day will probably be a training day. Water is so incredibly important. And I know I've experienced it where I have not had enough water and I can had a great night's sleep. I felt amazing, but my lips were on the struggle bus because of it. So don't leave the water game. Drink your water. And then of course, like stress, managing your stress. And this goes back to like not being in a deficit for forever because a deficit is a stress on your body. It doesn't probably feel like it, but it is. It's stressing out your body. It's stressing out your thyroid temporarily, right? It's when you do it chronically that's when your thyroid can get a little bit more impacted. Or if you eat super low carb, your thyroid can get impacted. Your other hormones will get impacted. Not a good place for our body to be. So stress management is going to be key. So muscle breakdown can happen, fatigue, um, fat storage will happen when we do this. But the biggest thing is letting yourself take time for yourself. And in this busy world and in the go, 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 this means setting time. And I know you're probably laughing at me right now, and that's fine. But breath work, journaling, walking, boundaries, taking a moment for you is going to be so huge because in these moments, we have to sometimes protect you and your peace in the grand scheme of things. Because sometimes we're just saying yes, 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 when we might say, hey, nope, this isn't going to serve me right now. Nope, nope, nope. These are my priorities. This is what I need to focus on. Because at the end of the day, if we can manage your stress, you're also going to feel better, lift more, recover better. Everything is so interconnected. So I know these things might not technically deal with training specifically, but I wanted to put this little caveat in here and especially nutrition too. If you have like eating more whole foods, right, are always going to help us feel better versus like processed stuff. Or you might notice, this happened to me the other day. We got stuck in a huge hailstorm that came out of nowhere. And we were supposed to be home like way earlier, but the hailstorm was like following us. And we ended up stopping for sandwiches. And I knew immediately when I got my sandwich, I was like, oh my gosh, it was a grilled chicken sandwich. Grilled. Don't listen to the menu. I knew better. But it was dripping with oil. Like it was literally like seeping out, and my stomach felt miserable. My training session the next day was not good. And it wasn't bad, but it was like I could feel that it was the food that I ate just did not feel good in my body. So your nutrition, your sleep, your rest, your water, your recovery, your stress management, it really does play a part in how you build muscle. And I just wanted to share that because I never want someone to be like, you know, I'm doing all the right things, but I just feel like fatigued, exhausted. Like, start looking here. Okay. Now, I'm going to end. We're going to end. I am going to share, I'll caveat first, but I'm going to share my own progress. And I think that's very real. And I want to share where I was and where I am currently so you can kind of see both. But I'm sharing this one specifically because you're going to be able to see where we've really put a lot of focus on my glutes, my hamstrings, and my quads. Now, I have a before and after so you can see. And so I will now flip. But this picture over here on the left, that is me coming out from my contest prep to maintenance. So here you're seeing me at maintenance, right? Now, I did my contest prep I did my contest in November of 2024. So end of last year. And we were here around December. Okay. This is current vibes. All right. So I shared this because I want you to see the difference between this picture and here. Now, first and foremost, I will also share that I am coming out of a surplus. So 100%, you will see I tend to carry a lot of weight I always have. When I was in a surplus, I gained it in my arms. And funnily enough, most times my upper body chips away first, but it's my lower body this time that's chipping away. So it's super fascinating. Seeing this little like change up. Usually my upper body comes off first, and it's not. My upper body's actually holding a lot of fat. So it is what it is, and all I do is keep chipping away, right? But what I wanted to show you is my glutes here. If you look from here, so this is now December, and we're now in July. So this is about 6.5 months of work. So I share this because I really want you to understand like this was me eating the food, resting, training the house down, no cardio, no any extra, like just steps, my normal steps. That was it. Biggest thing we've noticed is like I actually have a lot more like width to my glutes. And I know the lighting's hard to see, but you can actually see the like fullness in my glutes as well throughout like the whole entire glute. Now, not only the glute, but if you look at the quads, you can see massive growth. It may be harder for you, but we've seen like right here in my little teardrop, I have had massive growth in my teardrop here, as well as up at the top and up at the sides. And then if you look at my hamstrings, you can actually just already start to see my hamstrings pulling through, which is really cool to see. Now, like I said, my upper body is holding on to fat yet, and it's just part of the puzzle. Like you can see here, my back is super lean. And funnily, before my back was really, really lean when we even started my contest prep. And it's super cool though to see because not all the lighting, but you can see a little bit more of my rear delts. There's a little bit more of my back that you can see, but it's not popping right now. But it is what it is, right? I wanted to show you though, 6 months of work with, and I know it can feel like Oh no, Sierra, you were in a surplus though, so that's different for sure. I was in a surplus and I was though still training super hard, but the reason we did a surplus is because we wanted to do faster, right? You don't need to do faster. It's just keeping your training on lock. And I wanted to show that because it's real that sometimes people like it takes time. Yes, it does take time. And this has taken time and it will continue to take time. Like I know that I'm going to continue to build out my glutes and probably even a little bit more of my back. But the growth we have seen and the fact that like my legs are leaning out first, it's been really cool to just be able to start seeing a little bit more definition. And I have a feeling like you're starting to even see a little bit of my glute ham tie come in. I'm super jazzed. So, um, I share this because I want you to understand, like, one, fat comes off differently for every single person, and you are capable of really building the muscle. A lot of times, it's just going to be those last reps that we're leaving on the table that are going to make or break. And the growth that I've seen from that has just really fueled me to keep pushing. So I hope that maybe even just seeing this is like, okay, I know if my body is staying the same, if I'm feeling stuck, I need to look at my training. I really need to look at how I'm training, the weights, how I'm recording, how I'm warming up, how am I handling those last reps when the brain is saying no more. That's where we want to push. And I promise you, we will continue to see it go. So, anywho, I will stop. I know this one's a little longer. Like I said, this is beefy. Um, so bring the questions, thoughts, anything that you want. I did not make a guide for this, but if there is some pieces in this that you would like me to make in a guide, I just felt like it was a lot of information. I'm going to post the this presentation afterwards, but I wanted to see if there was anything specific that you felt like was the most helpful, like maybe like the warm-ups, like the guides for the warm-ups, and then maybe even like the link to the one rep max calculator. But I wasn't sure if that would be super helpful or not. So let me know if we do want that kind of a guide or if there's more questions or if we want a part two. I would be super happy to do that. But hopefully this will just help you take your training to the next level. And literally, you, I'm not joking. I want you, third time today, I want you to take a lift, one, at least one. If you want to do more, good, but at least one next week that you're going to really push to that failure and where you can't get up the weight and your form might, you're like, nope, form's breaking, stop. But I want you to be like, I can push up. I want it. I want it. And I want it. I want it so much. Like, if you want to share with us, I would love it even more. So I hope you have such a beautiful day and we will see you next time.